All right, so welcome back from Thanksgiving. Today we're going to be able to find the surface area and volume of a square-based pyramid. So just to start off real quick, you guys need to know these two formulas. You don't have to memorize them, but you need to know how to use them. I should say you need to know how to use them. So here we have our volume formula. So it's going to be our volume. And you're going to notice a couple of things here. We have this big B. That's going to be our area of the base. So that's going to be like if we were to take the area of the bottom of the pyramid. All right, and we're going to be able to find that by doing, using the formula to find the area of a square, So we know that each one of these is the side of the base, right? There's 4 of them. They're also the same length. It's a square. So to find the area of a square, we'll just have s squared. Right? Then we're going to look for the height. And when we're looking for height, we're going to know that the height's going to start at the tip of the pyramid and it's going to go straight down into the middle of the pyramid. Inside of it. I want you to think volume like inside of the pyramid, the space inside the pyramid. So this height is inside, fully inside the pyramid. Right? It also makes a right angle with the base of the pyramid, the entire base of the pyramid. So that's going to be our height. Then we're going to have our surface area. We're going to have this L here, which is going to be our length of the slant. So what I want you guys to think of is L for length with the L in slant. So length, L, slant, SL slant. Right? Now this is surface area. So surface area is going to be the outside of the pyramid. So think of it like volume. You're filling up the pyramid with water or cereal or air, right? On the outside of the pyramid, we are painting it. We're wrapping it. We're dealing with the outside of it. So our slant is going to be this L on the outside. The slant is going to be on one of the faces of the outside of the pyramid, which is a triangle. So it's going to be one of these it's going to go down the middle of the triangle on the outside on one of the faces, right? One of the sides. So it's going to be our length of slant, L. P is going to be our perimeter. All right, so just like we had those sides before when we were figuring out big B, for P, that's going to be our perimeter, right? Perimeter of the square base. So again, we have side, side, side. There are 4 sides. Well, we know that if we're finding perimeter, we're going to have side plus side plus side plus side. Well, from previous lessons, we learned about combining like terms. So we know there's a 1 here, but we usually don't write it. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, my perimeter is going to be 4s. And that's going to be a little helpful, I guess, kind of mini formula that we're going to use in Desmos here in a little bit. All right, and then again, we have big B, which is the same up here, and that doesn't change. So B is going to equal s squared. So if you notice, we kind of, in a sense, took away the big B area of the base variable and the small p perimeter of square base variable. And we're going to kind of replace it with this s. And you guys will see that here in a little while. So let's just jump right into it. So I said, notice, first of all, it says find the volume. Find the volume. Well, that means that I need to use this formula. That's my volume formula. Now, if you look to the left over here in Desmos, I've already got this written in. I used all the little hints that we had. The only thing that might be different that you guys haven't noticed is that I put this s equals. And that's because where I have this big B equals s squared, I'm kind of replacing this big B with an s, right? I'm defining it with another variable, so I need to make sure that I have this s here because I'm going to use that. So I need to look for my side and my height. Well, it's volume, so I know we're looking at the inside. We're trying to fill this in somehow. It just says find the volume. So what could the total volume possibly be? How much could we fill this up with? All right, and you'll notice that we have this straight line going down. Sorry, it's hard to draw a straight line with this thing sometimes. Going down from the tip, and you'll see that it makes a right angle inside of the pyramid. So that means that our 8 is going to be our height. All right, and then when we look, you can see that our pyramid has a square bottom, right, or a square base. So those are going to be our 4 different sides. And so 6 is going to be a side length. So all I have to do is plug in our 6 and our 8, and you'll see that it gives us right away, it solves our area of big B, right? Our area of the base, which will be 36, which will go into the formula. Volume equals 1/3 big B times height. And our total answer, our total volume would be 96 inches cubed, 96 inches cubed, or 96 cubic inches. Just be aware that you might see it written differently. Right? That's a U, cubic. All right, now let's say you wanted to do this the longhand way, which is fine. You know, when we have tools, we usually use them. But if you're a pure mathematician at heart, you might want to do this the longhand way. So we'll have volume equals 1/3 big B times height. Well, we know that we're going to have 1/3. That's just a constant. See, big B is the area of the base. So we are going to have to multiply 6 by itself to figure out the area, right? Because that's one of our sides. And we know that 8 is just going to be our height. So if we do that, 1/3 times 36 times 8, 1/3 of 36 is 12. 12 times 8 is going to be 96 inches. All right, now I'm not going to do a lot of them by hand because of this Desmos tool, and I would strongly encourage that you guys use the Desmos trick as much as possible. Let's see. So now we're going to look at finding the surface area of the following figure. So these are going to be good example problems where they're going to give you more information than you need, kind of like in a word problem. So you have to kind of decipher what you're going to use and what you're not going to use. Well, first of all, we know that we're using surface area, so I'm going to switch to my other, I have 2 Desmos tabs open, one for volume, one for surface area. I put an A in here to kind of remind us that we were looking for a type of area. It wouldn't work if I typed in SA, and I didn't want to put another S because we already have a small s for side. Another thing I probably should have pointed out earlier is that if you use big B, you have to continue to use big B because Desmos is in fact caps lock sensitive, right? It is case sensitive. So make sure you're consistent. So finding the surface area, I know that I'm going to use my surface area formula, which is 1/2 the slant times the perimeter plus big B, the area of the base. All right, so in Desmos, right, one more line, we have this S equals again. But in Desmos, all we need to look for is our slant and our side. And that's really all we need to look for in this formula, even though there are 3 variables. It's just a different way of kind of looking at it, I guess. All right, so let's start with the easiest one. So we're going to look for our slant, and then we're going to look for our side. So let's start with the easiest. I really think finding the side should be no problem for anybody. Come down to the base of this figure, and you're going to see that we have these 4 sides, and one of them is labeled as 16, so our side is definitely 16. Right? So now let's look for the slant. If I'm looking for the slant, remember we're doing surface area, which means we're dealing with the outside. So I want to find the slant line is always going to be on one of the sides, right? It's going to be on the outside of one of these triangles, one of these 4 triangles that go through. And it's going to run right down the middle, right? So of that triangle, not of the figure. So I can tell that this 17 is going to be my slant because it runs right down the middle of one of our triangular sides. All right, so 17 is going to be our L, 16 is going to be our S. All right, and then you look at this 15, you realize like, oh, this is inside the pyramid, right? This is inside the pyramid. So we don't have to worry about that. That's our height. We're not going to use our height when we're looking for surface area. So all we do is we come over here, type in a 16 for our S, 17 for our height, and you'll see that we get 800 inches squared. All right, now if you want to do this by hand, and I'll show you real quick. Another thing, kind of point out, look, in this Desmos formula where we use the S, it gives us, it's the perimeter right here, right? We typed in P equals 4S, that's going to be our perimeter formula. It tells us the perimeter 64. The big B is our area of our base, right? And we use the area of a square formula. So that gives us our area there, which is 256. So if I wanted to plug this in the longhand way, I would have A equals 1/2. Well, my L is my slant, and we said that was 17. My perimeter would be 16 times 4, and my base would be 16 squared. Now you can just plug this right into Desmos. It's just important to remember your parentheses here. So if we simplified, we can kind of use some of the stuff that we got from Desmos. So 16 times 4 is 64. And then we're going to add our 256. 17 times 30. So if we did this side, because we have to use our order of operations, we have 570. Sorry, we have 544. 544. Bring this guy down, plus 256. And that's going to give us 800 inches squared. So it does, in fact, work by hand, right? All right, so let's not do it by hand. Let's just focus on Desmos because it makes everybody's life a little bit easier. So if I'm finding the volume of the figure shown, well, first of all, I need to go back to my volume formula. Volume. Well, when I'm looking for my volume, all I need is my height and my side. Well, here they only give us 2 numbers, which makes this pretty easy for us. So we know that our side is going to be one of these sides for the base of the pyramid, which happens to be 16. And the only other number we get is going to be 24, which you can see is pointing at this line that is inside the pyramid. And we're doing volume, it's inside the pyramid. All right, all we have to do is plug them in, 24, 16. And look at our top number, 2048. And don't forget it is inches cubed. All right, so now we're finding the surface area. So that looks like I'm probably going to have to switch my formula. So I'm going to go to my surface area formula. And when we're using our surface area formula, remember we are looking for the slant and the side. So we're looking for L, which is our slant, and then S, which is our side. So again, they give us a bunch of information. Some of it we're not going to use. So let's just get rid of what we're not using. All right, we're doing surface area. So we're looking at the outside of this figure. Look, this line in the middle is the height. It starts at the point at the top, and it goes right down into the middle inside of this pyramid. So I don't even need this information. All right, so let's just get rid of it so we're not worried about, oh, well, why didn't we use the 4? Or shouldn't we have done that? All right, again, I like to start with the side because we know it's always going to be one of these 4 sides of the base of our pyramid. And granted, you have 2 6s. That's just telling you that each side is the same length, right? I could even just say that I could write 2 more 6s. But you only need to worry about one side, so it's going to be 6. And then our slant is going to start at the tip, and it's going to come down the side on the outside of one of the triangular sides in the middle. So our slant's going to be 5. All right, and again, you just plug these into Desmos real quick. Whoops, make sure you use the right number. 5 and 6. All right, scroll up to the top, and you'll see that our answer is 96 units squared. Remember, surface area is squared. Just to point out again, when we use this formula, it gives us the perimeter. It kind of shows you almost a little bit of the steps along the way. It gives you the area of the base. Right? And you can tell that 6 times 6 is 36. If you are using Desmos, I will remind you that you have to make sure that you are consistent with your variables, your use of letters, and make sure that you put the correct information where it needs to be. All right, then you'll get something like this where it's a word problem. My big thing with word problems all the time is just get rid of the information you don't need. So right now, we don't really care that it's a square-based roof, but tomorrow we will, because tomorrow we're going to introduce cones, and then you'll have to be like, oh, am I using the cone formula or the square-based pyramid formula? So for us, it's a house has a square-based roof built on top of it. You're installing an air conditioner to cool the room. Like, all right, whatever. I don't care. I don't need that, right? So one length, now here's where you guys start paying attention. One length of the square room is 30 feet, and the attic height is 6 feet. How much cubic feet of air will the attic hold? Well, it told us in the problem we're looking for the volume, but let's say it didn't say volume. This cubic right here would be a dead giveaway that we're looking for volume. All right, and we know that when we're looking for volume, all we need to look for is our height and a side. Well, we have this word big time right here. Height is 6 feet, no brainer, 6 feet, no problem. Well, the only other number in the problem is 30. So we know the side's going to be 30, but let's just look at it because I know some people have some issues with this. Length of the square room, one length of the square room. So if I have a square room and I'm looking at one length of it, it's going to be 30. So that's our side length. All right. And then again, just pop it in Desmos, 60, 30, scroll up. Oh, we didn't have to scroll for this one. And we know it's going to be 1,800 feet cubed, 1,800 cubic feet. All right, and last but not least, forgot to clear out Desmos on this one, is we are looking for the surface area of this scenario. So Jack found an old toy pyramid while cleaning and decided to paint it. If the pyramid has a slant length of 15 inches and a square side base of 10 inches, how much paint does he need? All right, couple things. If it didn't say surface area, we would know it's surface area because he wants to paint it, right? You don't paint the inside. I mean, I guess you do paint the inside of some things, but in 8th grade math class, we're not painting the inside of the pyramid, we're painting the outside. All right, so we know when we're looking for surface area, we are looking for our slant and a side. All right, again, slant and side. Well, it gives us big words here, slant. Not a big word, but a big, like, just red flag, like, yo, look at me, stand out, slant, length. So the slant is going to be 15. It gives it to us, like, just hands it over to us for nothing. All right, and there's only one other number in this problem. We know that's going to be 10 for the side. But look, it says square side. Square side. All right, so make sure you are reading this, looking for these words. Do not mix them up when you put them in. All right, so I know that my slant is going to be 15, and then my side is going to be 10. And you can see that our final answer is D, 400 inches squared. All right, so if you have any questions about any of these, let me know. Tomorrow we're going to go over something very, very similar. It's going to be surface area and volume of a cone. So make sure you guys get all your makeup work done. If you haven't turned your Unit 5 test in, get it turned in. We have a Unit 6 test on Friday. Other than that, have a good afternoon.